Hey! What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Well, my name is Jeremy, aka, well, come on! It's your boy, IPG, Red, Purple, Gold. Now, before we get into this next very, very special episode, I just wanted to be able to take this time, as I always do, to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel if you haven't had a chance to do so already. In addition to that, take just a couple seconds, like the video, give it that thumbs up, because it definitely very much does help. Also, make sure right down there below you, right down there in that comments section, leave any comments that you might like, because it's definitely the best way to be able to get that dialogue started back and forth. And last but of course not least, ding dong, you know how I love to say it, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Bell Gang once again coming right at you. Guys, make sure to hit that notification bell so that each time that I drop a brand new video, you will be the first to be notified. And then you can be able to catch up on that brand new piece of content whenever you would like. Well, you guys, like I said, this is a very, very special episode, and I am, really excited to be able to bring it to each and every one of you. And, well, in, sort of playing at the same game of what I did in, April or May, I can't remember specifically when I had put up that specific video, but I had done a, really special, really important video for my mom for Mother's Day as just a gift to her, something that I could be able to, put up for her and for each and every one of you, just to be able to say, how much I love her and just, how important she was to me. Well, now I'm doing exactly the same thing, but for my dad. So I am making this really important, very special video for him to be able to, just tell him how much that I love him, as well as just to be able to give a huge shout out, put a major showcase on my dad, but of course all of the dads out there. So to each and every one of you dads, thank you so much for being who you are, as well as happy belated Father's Day. I hope that on Sunday for the actual day, but hopefully maybe the entire weekend, that you got the chance to be able to hang out with family and friends, with loved ones. That's definitely the most that I hope for, an important and special day like that. And you guys will remember when I did my very first video for Mother's Day, I had talked about the fact that, just how important both of my parents are to me, and when I was kind of giving that showcase about her and all of the things that she's done, I wanted to be able to make that same exact showcase, really be able to give you guys, a little bit more info and just background on me and my dad, and just kind of that whole situation, like I was talking about from the first video. And if you guys remember, I said that I am adopted from the country of Colombia in South America. And, when I was adopted, my parents had came down to Colombia to get me, after I was maybe about 3 or 4 months old. So I was born in September, but they didn't come down to get me until, the middle to later part of December. And so because of that, my relationship with my parents has always been something that's been very, very special to me, very important to me. And now this sort of just, in the line of like, this was the thing that we were doing for this weekend, but I actually got to spend the entire weekend with both of my parents again, just like I did for Mother's Day, but this time I was actually back where they are from, on the eastern side of the mountains here in the state of Washington, in Tri-Cities. And it was so much fun. And so I will do a whole nother video on this and just kind of give you guys a lot more background and, you know, information on just the overall event and the weekend itself. But every year, me and a group of my friends will always go back to the Tri-Cities to hang out with my parents for the weekend for what's called our annual wine weekend. And this year, wine weekend just happened to also coincide with Father's Day. Now, the last couple years, we've actually had it on this same weekend as well. So for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years specifically, I've been able actually to not only hang out with both my parents, including my dad, for the entire weekend, but also able to be there with a bunch of my friends doing our wine weekend, which my parents are involved in the whole time. So it's just a lot of fun, and knowing that I was able to spend that time, you know, with my dad over the weekend was a ton of fun. And just as a little bit of a pullback of the curtain, you know, my parents are, for a weekend like that, for our wine weekend, you know, it's sort of like that, maybe that 1 or 2 times a year where they really just kind of get to cut loose, you know, hang out with me and a big group of my friends. And, you know, we go out to a bunch of different wineries, we do all of these different tastings, and my parents get to be there, and it's a lot of fun because, you know, it's not like they wouldn't do something like that, but would they choose to maybe, you know, hang out with their son and 13, 14 of his other friends and, you know, kind of have a big party at their place and, you know, take us around to these different wineries and stuff? You know, maybe that wouldn't be their first thought of a good time, but it really is something that I know from both of their standpoints that they really look forward to each year because, like I said, it really is a great opportunity for them just to be able to let loose, you know, kind of maybe have a little bit, you know, more of a crazy, hey, you know, kind of, you know, back like when I was in college and stuff like that, just have kind of one of those old, like, you know, back in the day type of weekends where it's like, hey, you know, we're not going to worry about whether we should really be doing this. We're just going to party and have fun. And both of my parents, you know, like I said, really look forward to this weekend because it is just so much crazy fun. But at the same time, because we keep them all so involved with everything that we're doing throughout the weekend, you know, it's not like they're just our chauffeurs. They really get to be a part of everything that we're doing, and that is also very special to me as well. But on Friday night, when we got into Tri-Cities, we always start out the weekend doing this big dinner thing. And one of the big topics at that dinner, when everybody was there, was that brand new miniseries on HBO, Chernobyl. And a lot of the guys had been, you know, either just been watching it or maybe were in the midst of it where they were only a couple episodes in. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had actually had the chance, the last time I had seen my parents, I'd actually had the chance to be able to watch the entire miniseries. And so it was super cool to be able to sit down, and then, like, the next thing you knew, like, all of the guys that were there with us were, like, all just turned and looking at my dad while he's kind of explaining to us all of, like, the science behind, you know, the actual, you know, what happened with the core and just kind of everything that was in regards to the overall event. And then also some of the other pieces of the timeline that from the show were maybe, you know, exaggerated a little bit, or, well, that did happen, but it didn't happen in the place they put it in the show. So I thought that that was just really, really cool. And I actually have an awesome picture to be able to put on my Facebook that you guys can be able to go and check out, where it's just that picture of all of us just intently just listening to him like he's teaching a class. And I thought that that was super cool because, you know, obviously, like I said, like they get to be involved and they're having fun with us the entire weekend. But to see my dad in that type of a situation where, like, he's like dropping knowledge on all of us and doing this whole thing, and we're all just like just turned and watching him, it was super cool. So it just felt really good because you knew that he was really involved, having a great time, and, you know, that to me was really, really special. But the overall weekend was a lot of fun, and I love being able to spend time with both of my parents. But, you know, this is for my dad to be able to tell him how much I love him, and he definitely knows. But one of the things that I talked about from the last episode, or the last one where I talked about Mother's Day, was that when I had released my brand new album, Break the Chain, back on the 1st of February in 2019, I had known from that album when I was putting everything together that there were some very specific songs that I really, really wanted to be able to get accomplished from the completion of my first album to the completion of my second album. And of those 3 songs, the song for my dad, Hands to Hold, the song for my mom, Love, or L-O-V-E, and then I also wrote a song for my biological mother called Let Me Go. So for those 3 songs, those were very specific tracks that I really wanted to be able to showcase and get on the second album, because to do a song for both of my parents and my biological mom was very, very important to me. And just like I had done for the Mother's Day one, I wanted to be able to showcase that song that I wrote for my dad, and just to give you guys kind of the breakdown of the lyrics and just to kind of go over the song with you. And so now we're going to do that right now. So, Dad, I love you so much, and this is your song, Hands to Hold, by RPG, Red, Purple, Gold. Intro. Dad, I'm everything because of you. Chorus. My father gave me his hands to hold. When he did, I held it tightly. Then my mother, father, and I were a real family. My father gave me his hands to hold. My parents came to get me and brought me home right after landing. My father held me up until my legs were ready for standing. He was patient and loving, never loud or demanding. He wanted to see me grow strong, full of passion and understanding. My father gave me his hands to hold. For the rest of my life, I will know the true meaning of love and family. My father gave me his hands to hold. Verse 2. There is no man that I look up to more than my father. Every time I think about him, I just want to push myself farther. Without him, I don't know where I'd be. My life would be so much harder. Well, just to show him how much I love him, I'll always try and hug him harder. My father gave me his hands to hold. When he did, I held it tightly. Then my mother, father, and I were a real family. My father gave me his hands to hold. He gave me the greatest life beyond all imaginations. All the lessons that he taught me, he knows his son could lead the nation. Put in work, learn and grow. Don't get stuck in procrastination. With everything I know, the top is my final destination. My father gave me his hands to hold. When he did, I held it tightly. Then my mother, father, and I were a real family. My father gave me his hands to hold. My father gave me his hands to hold. With that strength I can handle any storm that is set out before me. My father gave me his hands to hold. All of my life I will love him, but I know that he won't be here forever. That someday really scares me, but our bond will never sever. He always taught me live in the world, but always just try to make it better. Will there be a day when I don't need my father? That day would be never. My father gave me his hands to hold, and I knew love was the feeling. With the life I was given, I knew I could shoot up right past the ceiling. To tell the truth, a woman's heart is nothing meant for stealing. A heart can be broken, but true love is the first step in healing. My father gave me his hands to hold. To a father from his son, I'm now a man and ready for what life has in store for me. My father gave me his hands to hold. My father gave me his hands to hold. To a son from his father, I'm so proud of you. You are the best parts of me. My father gave me his hands to hold. So that was the song that I wrote for my dad for my most recent album, Break the Chain. And, you know, it was actually a really, really cool moment because I was actually able to give him the completed song and the lyrics last year for Father's Day, but I hadn't actually started this channel yet at this time, so I knew that I really wanted to be able to, you know, just take it that next step and, you know, do the same sort of thing that I did for my mom for him as well. And I can remember when I was writing this song, you know, not that the song that I wrote for my mom wasn't hard in the sense of obviously what you're talking about, but I remember that this song was much more difficult for me to be able to get through, I guess, in a sense, just because of the fact that somehow, in a way, it almost felt like, because it's almost as if because there's so many songs that are written about people's moms and how important they are, and you just don't see that as much from the sense of really wanting to sit down and focus about writing a song for your dad, that it almost felt like it was harder to do because it was so much more that you were putting behind it in a way. I don't know. I mean, it was just a very, very moving but difficult song for me to write because I knew that I was, you know, maybe also in the sense, maybe even going, you know, deeper than I had, you know, with that very first song that I had done. And, you know, maybe when I was even writing the song Let Me Go for my biological mom, you know, I was going even one step deeper with that one as well because of some of the different points that you're touching. But with this song, you know, it was such a beautiful song, as well as when I was making the song for the album, it was also one of my favorite songs that I had put together because, again, just like I had done with my mother's song for Love, I had a very, very specific idea of how I wanted the song to sound, what type of instruments I wanted on there, and, you know, it all came together so well. And those three songs in particular, but this one especially, turned out to just be incredibly beautiful. And I loved that sound of the track itself mixed in with the lyrics that are obviously very personal, they're very close to me, but they're also very powerful just because, you know, for my whole life, my dad was a very, you know, powerful and just larger-than-life-esque type person, just to me as just a general boy, you know, when I was young, and then growing up more, you know, into a man, and understanding all of the things that he had done and all of the, you know, different sacrifices and everything that he had made, you know, throughout my life to make sure to be able to give me, you know, and to say yes to more than he said no to. And I think that that's so important, and I think that a lot of times, you know, now it hits just so much more to home because it means so much more because you get it, because you're at that age range where, wow, like where I am now, like my parents would have had me by this point, and you just see it, even though I don't have any kids, you just see it from that way where you're like, wow, like I now see it from that angle as opposed to, you know, just always seeing it from the sense of a child looking up to his dad. But at that same time, that idea of me writing this song was the same thing as I always felt all of my years growing up, that, you know, I look up so much to him, and there's so many things that when I think about the accomplishments that I have made, the places where I want to go, just like I said in the song, that, you know, there's nobody that I look up to more than my father. Every time I see him, I just want to push myself farther. And that is everything that he is to me, where he's that reason for me to want to keep pushing myself to do more, because I always saw him pushing himself to be able to do more and to live that type of lifestyle. And that's why he and this song, but everything in regards to him, is so important to me, and, you know, obviously why I love him so much. But, you know, you guys, I just wanted to be able to, like I said, bring this video to you as, you know, to tell my dad how much I love him, and to, you know, just again wish him happy Father's Day, and how happy I was that I got to be able to spend the whole weekend with him. You know, that is something that's very important and very special to me, and, you know, something that will never lose that level of just meaning to me, ever, because both of my parents are that important to me, but knowing that so much of what I learned and so much of who I am came from him is why, I would do something like this for him. But you guys, I just wanted to be able to just put that out there to thank each and every one of the dads that are out there right now and all of the world that you mean to, your sons and your daughters, and just to be that figure of the man that we should look up to is very important. So, guys, you know where you are right now. You know who you're talking to. You're keeping it live right here on the channel with your boy, IPG, Red, Purple, Gold. So until I come with that next video, peace.